credible, balanced, committed. This is the CBC Evening News.
And a very good evening to you. I'm Lisa Lord with the Thursday, January 14th edition of the CBC Evening News and our top story. In the midst of what is being billed as a record winter tourist season, many of the repeat visitors to Barbados were entertained at the official residence of the Prime Minister. Scores of tourists last night filled Ilaro Court for the first of 4 receptions being held this year. A number of tourism officials were on hand mingling with the guests, who were treated to local cuisine and entertainment. Prime Minister Frundell Stewart paid tribute to the visitors, thanking them for their confidence in Barbados as their choice of tourist destination.
Barbadians deeply appreciate the confidence that you continue to repose in our beautiful island. We feel a corresponding commitment to you to ensure that we make Barbados as congenial as possible, a place for you to come from year to year, to recoup your energies, to just enjoy yourselves, and to partake of the warmth of our country.
Well, meantime, the Barbados Hotel and Tourism Association is calling on the authorities to urgently address fresh complaints from scores of visitors about long delays coming through customs at the Grantley Adams International Airport. BHTA Chief Executive Officer Sue Springer again raised the issue during that reception at Ilaro Court. It's an issue she says has the attention of Tourism Minister Richard Seeley.
The biggest complaint that I'm getting, far more than water, is what is happening at the airport. On Saturday last week, the American Airlines flight that came in landed at 10:30. The last person got through customs at 1 o'clock in the morning. And there was real complaints. I have had numerous complaints about how long it's taking and the green line not being open and so on. And I mean, it really is very frustrating for people that have taken a long journey here and then having to spend 2 and 3 hours at the airport. And that is something that really has to be dealt with.
The BHTA CEO says there have also been some complaints about water outages at hotels on the island, especially at those located in the north and on the west coast.
Some hotels have some water storage. Other hotels have actually had water delivery. And then, of course, for some things, they can use water from the swimming pool and so on and so forth. So they utilize what they have, obviously, to try and minimize. And when the water does come on, then they store water so that they've got water, especially for the kitchen procedures and so on and so forth.
Well, as the debate on corporal punishment in schools rages on, Barbados is being told to take a look at other jurisdictions should it contemplate fully moving away from it. Former Principal Matthew Farley says some countries that have moved away from it and are now facing calls for corporal punishment to be reintroduced. Mr. Farley was among the guests discussing the issue on CBC TV8's program Morning Barbados this morning.
In the United Kingdom, 21% of parents want corporal punishment back in schools because they feel that it strengthens the children's character and it teaches right from around 19% would welcome it and they felt it was the most effective form of punishment for children. You can check childalert.com for that. So what I'm saying, in the United Kingdom, where it was banned, where it has been banned for a number of years, there is now a recognition that the fact that there has been a significant decline in the culture, the environment, and the tone of our schools that is pushing young, trained teachers out of the system in the first 2 years. The Education Secretary recently said, we have to look at this issue of corporal punishment again.
Mr. Farley says adult authority has been eroded and significantly diminished within schools.
It has to be restored, and I believe that Barbados' position should be retained and we should not be dictated to by outside forces whose situation is chaotic, and we should not fall in the same rut that they have themselves have fallen into.
Meantime, Attorney-at-Law Senator Verla de Pisa is telling parents that PTA meetings are important.
I'll say this in defense of parents at PTA meetings, that you don't see very many teachers there either. I think that is an organization that really needs to be revived. you will see
So you
60
agree with
parents.
that?
Yes, because I'm one of the parents that go, so I know that there will be 60 on the first night of the school year, and
Then
4
40.
teachers. The importance of PTA, I think, is missing, but I'm not sure why it is that parents think that they have to wait for formal meetings in order to go to the school and discuss their child.
Government is renewing its efforts to monitor racial discrimination. This from Culture Minister Stephen Lashley, who was speaking during the opening ceremony of the inaugural Pan-African Colloquium at the Cavell campus last night. Mr. Lashley says, additionally, government is focused on promoting trade with Africa.
We renew our call for meaningful and innovative reparations globally for people of African descent as past and continuing victims of racial discrimination. I'm happy to report that the Barbados Task Force on Reparations, established under my ministry, is hard at work and is preparing its first major report for submission. It is indeed my belief that the work of this conference in honoring and giving esteem to our ancestors, heroes and heroines of Pan-Africanism.
And in the keynote address, Vice Chancellor of the UWI, Professor Sir Hilary Beckles, says there needs to be a global African summit as soon as possible.
We need a global African summit to think this through, to work this through, because there's going to be a lot of work to be done in this very, very long 21st century. We need new tools, new intellectual weapons, new perspectives, and new concepts.
The Barbados Water Authority is informing Barbadians that as part of the construction of the new Grandview Reservoir, there will be a shutdown of the system from 4 tomorrow afternoon until 4 on Saturday morning. The BWA says residents and businesses in Belmont Road, Belleville and surrounding areas will experience low water pressure or outages. The utility company is therefore asking them to store adequate amounts of water during this time. The authority says it apologizes for the inconvenience that this may cause. While the opposition Barbados Labour Party says it cannot be business as usual at the Barbados Water Authority, leader of the opposition Mia Motley in a statement suggested that the time taken by the BWA to commission mains when they have been replaced be significantly reduced. She would also like to see a 24-hour workday introduced in the deployment of tankers and the repair and replacement of critical mains. The opposition leader thanked the Minister of Agriculture, Food, Fisheries and Water Resource Management, Dr. David Eswick, for addressing the people of Barbados on the medium and long-term plans being undertaken by his ministry and the BWA.
We thank Minister Eswick for having the Barbados Water Authority urgently publish the request for expressions of interest to build the 2 desalination plants in the north, and for having the Infrastructure Committee of Cabinet settle just yesterday a national water policy, which we look forward to reading. We do have some questions, for example, as to whether the temporary solutions of the packaged desal plants can in any way be converted into a permanent solution. But these can be addressed in the next few weeks.
We'll have more news after the break. Stay with us.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you, my darling.
Thanks, Mr. Banks, man. Thanks, man.
Cheers, mate.
One more. Right.
Thanks, man.
Each and every day, we're thankful for something. And we're thankful for you. We couldn't do it without you.
Be Content plan from as low as $35 a month. Call us at 436-6200 for a quote today. Hashtag pay in installments.
We always knew it, and December's systematic survey confirms it. The majority of Barbadians are watching CBC TV8 between 7 and 10 p.m. That's a prime-time audience that spans all socio-economic groups. So when you really want to reach an audience, then there's no better option than CBC. CBC TV8, your nighttime market leader.
The Employment Rights Tribunal resumed today, but several tense exchanges between Chairman Hal Gollop and Counsel for the National Conservation Commission, Mitchell Codrington, forced 3 adjournments of that hearing. After explaining that his absence on 2 occasions last year was due to illness, Mr. Codrington resumed his cross-examination of former National Union of Public Workers General Secretary Dennis Clark. Mr. Codrington asked several questions about the NUPW's representation of NCC workers dating back to the 1970s and 1980s, but Chairman Gollop ruled that line of questioning irrelevant and ordered him to move on, sparking the first exchange.
Are you set that my client appeal before the matter?
Well then, Mr. Codrington, you have a right of appeal.
I'm saying I have ruled. I have a right to object to
you can't object to a chairman. You can object. You cannot object, Mr. Codrington. You cannot object to a presiding officer.
Nonsense.
Well.
Nonsense. I have a statement of claim here. Proceeding on that statement of claim and a direct witness arises across the matter informing the discussion. Because the chairman does not say instantly, the chairman is objecting and saying that
this session is adjourned for 5 minutes.
The hearing then resumed with the chairman asking counsel to respect the rulings of the tribunal, adding that he would not accept any more back and forth with the chair. Mr. Codrington resumed his questioning on the history of the NUPW's relationship with the commission. This prompted another interruption by the chair, who again asked Mr. Codrington to move on, but he refused. The session was then adjourned 2 more times, after which Mr. Codrington resumed his cross-examination of Mr. Clark. The former NUPW General Secretary acknowledged that the union had never been given formal recognition as a representative body for NCC workers. Chairman Gollop later adjourned the hearing until January 22nd, with the 25th and 26th also set aside as hearing dates. The Naniki Barbados Music Festival kicked off last night at the Holders Hill Polo Club. Performers paid tribute to songwriter Irvin Burgee, who penned the national anthem of Barbados. The 1688 Big Band was among the many acts. The group of semi-professional and professional musicians, headed by Dr. Stefan Walcott, played songs by Mr. Burgee, as well as other tunes which perfectly blended with a number of different genres. Also gracing the stage to salute the famous songwriter was Barbadian singer Debbie Reefer. She joined the band, adding her soulful sound, much to the delight of the patrons. Barbados Music Awards recipient Nikita also took to the stage alongside the 1688 band to recognize Mr. Burgee. She sang popular tracks composed by Mr. Burgee, such as Mary's Boy Child and Land of the Sea and Sun. 1688 Big Band leader Dr. Stefan Walcott is hoping that this year, in Barbados' 50th year of independence, government will give more recognition to Barbadians who have made a global impact.
We'd like to thank Tom at this moment for having us, for having the idea to honor Barbadian living outside in the diaspora. Because so many times we look to honor those that live here locally and operate here locally, but when you look globally at the contribution made by those who had parents from Barbados or those who lived here a while and then moved abroad, the influence is significant. Grandmaster Flash, Dennis Bavell, the list just goes on and on. These are people that have made global contributions, whose work continues to inspire millions and billions of people. And it's my hope this year that the government will recognize more of these people living outside and give them the recognition they truly deserve.
And the music festival continues tonight at the Frank Collimer Hall. Well, it's hard to miss the 70-foot-high wind turbine in Wildy. It is Barbados' largest single installed wind turbine. The 20-kilowatt turbine is located at the U.S. Embassy. The turbine is also the largest operating at any U.S. embassy in the world. It has been producing approximately 63 kilowatt hours of energy daily since it was installed on December 16th last year, and the turbine is expected to produce 56 megawatt hours. The new wind turbine is the U.S. Embassy's latest project to further its goals of mitigating the impact of climate change and promoting clean energy through adaptation initiatives and energy partnerships. Well, a Barbadian is among the new executive of the Caribbean Regional Youth Council for the 2015-2017 term. She is Farhana Bulbulia, and she will serve as Vice Chair for Policy and Advocacy. The other members are from Jamaica, St. Kitts and Nevis, Dominica, and Guyana. CRYC is the collective voice of national youth councils and represents the voice of youth for the Caribbean. Barbados has been blessed with yet another centenarian. Celebrating his 100th birthday today is Eustace Lane of Parish Land over in Christchurch. Governor General, His Excellency Sir Elliot Belgrave, visited Mr. Lane to congratulate him for his contribution to Barbados. During his prime years, Mr. Lane worked as a well digger and spent his free time playing the guitar. He is the father of 12 children, 6 of them are still alive, and his favorite food is cuckoo and mackerel. Speaking to CBC News, his son David Bino says his father was inspiring.
Dad has instilled within all of us strong discipline in whatever we would have done. Some of us, in terms of my siblings, had more opportunities than others, and each of us capitalized on the opportunities that were presented to us. He inspired me to really love books by the books that he invested in, because it's one thing to see a book in a classroom, but when you have a book that speaks to life and practical books, it then encouraged you to read more. And he would have invested in some books that really initiated my love for books. And so he was the catalyst in relation to that.